in this case, hundreds of developers.
About Google Stadia. Do you recall those questions?
Yes.
Do you know whether or not Google Stadia is in existence today?
I'm not sure you want to know. I don't know what the answer to that question is, but if he has insider information about things in development, I don't know how he's supposed to answer that question. So can you
believe, Your Honor, it's been publicly, there's a public announcement. I don't want to say anything else. I don't believe that I'm seeking any confidential information.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Sweeney, are you aware one way or the other as to whether or not Google Stadia has been shut down?
My understanding is that after a public launch, Google Stadia has been very significantly scaled back.
All right, and you were shown Exhibit DX3199. Can we bring that up on the stand, on the machine? Do you recall questions on this document?
Yes.
When you were, was this document reflecting an interview of you?
Yes.
All right. What platforms were you referring to, if any, at the bottom of the page where you said it proves that developers have the real power in the industry and that where developers go, customers will go with them?
Yes.
What platforms were you referring to?
I was referring to competition among PC stores. That gamers would switch PC stores to go wherever developers went with their game.
Was the topic of this interview involving iOS?
The topic of this question was not. I did not see anything in this interview pertaining to any mobile platform.
When the statement is made, it proves that developers have the real power in the industry. Do you believe that that statement is correct with regard to iOS?
No.
Why not?
Apple has complete control over what games and other apps can be distributed on iOS, and we use that to make arbitrary policies and decisions such that Apple has all of the power and control on iOS.
In your experience, can developers move away from iOS and bring their customers with them?
No.
There were some questions about EpicGames business. When did EpicGames Store first have plans to include non-games?
This is something we have been discussing since prior to the public launch of the EpicGames Store in 2018.
And you described yesterday that there was non-game functionality on Fortnite. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Was there non-game functionality on Fortnite prior to August 2020 when this lawsuit was launched?
Yes.
When did the Party Royale first have non-game functionality?
Party Island had non-game functionality from the time that we introduced the mode and continued as we held concerts within it. And I believe that was late 2019 or early 2020.
And when were concerts first launched within Fortnite? Approximately.
So I don't remember the date of the first concert. The first concert was with the musician Marshmallow. I believe that was late 2018 or early 2019.
And was that prior to the filing of the lawsuit?
Yes. Was
there competitive gameplay at the Marshmallow concert?
No. When the concert began, there was just a pure entertainment experience that you couldn't win or lose.
And you've also mentioned yesterday the creative game mode within Fortnite.
Yes.
All right. When was...
Can Can I ask on that? When someone is a Fortnite user and they go to one of these concerts, they're still in their kind of Fortnite persona, aren't they? I mean, it's not like we're going on Zoom and with friends and you see your friends and you go into a meeting room or something like that. People are there in their kind of game mode, aren't they?
Yes, people go into these concerts with their 3D avatar, a Marvel superhero or a giant banana, and they're participating in this virtual 3D space.
Right. And so it still seems to me like, well, let me ask this. Do you have any data that suggests that anybody goes to the concerts who aren't already just Fortnite players? Do you think it's just one more aspect of the game?
Well, yeah, we've seen a significant influx of people into Fortnite when we hold concerts, and also a significant amount of lapsed players in Fortnite coming back for concerts. So,
but all in this kind of game situation, right? And there's some movies about stuff like this, aren't there?
Yeah, well, Ready Player One is an example.
Because I'm not a gamer, that's the one that comes to mind. And is it like that?
Yeah, all of this metaverse science fiction portrays a realistic 3D world in which participants have both social experiences, like sitting in a bar and talking, and also game experiences, going on chases and things.
So would that be, because I haven't seen any evidence yet presented in how this actually looks on your game platform, but would that movie kind of be the most readily accessible analogy to what is going on?
Yeah, so I think Ready Player One is a great movie example. There's also Snow Crash, the book, which kind of describes this emerging social entertainment medium that transcends gaming. But again, the distinction is that they're going into these with their avatars, with their kind of in this gaming environment. And beyond doing competitions, then you provide other kind of experiences. Yes, all in the virtual 3D world. You can stand there and watch Netflix with your friends, and it's different than watching in front of a TV, because you can talk to your friends and you can emote and throw tomatoes at the screen, and so it's a very different experience than either a game or Netflix. But you still are monetizing that, you said, by offering people the ability to buy things while they're sitting there watching movies virtually together. Yes, sir. All right, go ahead.
And the what are the kinds of things they can buy at a concert, for instance?
Well, we typically, around the time of a concert, will promote items associated with the musician, as well as, like the Travis Scott concert included a skin or an outfit for Travis Scott, so did the Marshmallow concert. We also have emotes that are relevant to the concert. There are some that are kind of concert goer emotes of waving around glowing sticks, for example.
And are you, let me ask the question this way. Does an individual who has an avatar, do they have to engage in gameplay in order to attend a concert?
No.
Does an individual who appears in the app as an avatar, do they have to engage in competitive gameplay to watch a movie?
No.
Does an individual who appears as an avatar in the app have to engage in competitive play to create within creative mode?
No.
You aren't making a distinction, though, in terms of competitive play. People play games all the time that aren't necessarily competitive, right? Or is it everything? I don't understand. If you have your Switch, playing Candy Crush or something like that. You're playing a game. It's not necessarily competitive against other people. You're just playing a game.
Yes, and there's typically game mechanics like a score or progression of some sort. This isn't present in these concerts.
So But that's not, you aren't making a distinction that somehow people have to be playing against someone else. Is everything that you sell people playing against each other?
Hang on. And then within Fortnite Creative, this is just a tool for creating your own Fortnite island. There's nothing resembling a game mechanic at all. It's more like Barbie fashion designer, but for the Fortnite universe.
Right, and so it doesn't have to be competitive, it's just entertainment.
Yes, it's definitely entertainment.
In fact, how would you define a game?
I think the game involves some sort of win or loss or progression, whether it's an individual or a social group of competitors. With a game, you're trying to build up to some outcome that you achieve, as opposed to an open-ended experience like building a Fortnite Creative Island or writing a Microsoft Word document. There's no scorekeeping mechanic, and you're never done or you never win.
Keep going.
You were asking questions about metal. Do you recall that, Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
All right. And Mr. Doran showed you a document in which you praised metal in 2018. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. When was metal first released, approximately, if you can recall?
My recollection is in the 2014 timeframe, but I'm not certain.
So a couple of years at least before 2018?
I think so.
Okay. Do you know whether or not Epic invested any resources in improving metal?
Yes, we worked very closely with Apple as we were bringing up support for the Unreal Engine in metal, and we gave them feedback on improving their API, and they gave us feedback on improving our engine.
All right. And does the work that Epic did with regard to metal, along with Apple, is that limited to the benefit of Epic, or will it benefit others?
I think all of these efforts we did in partnership with Apple will benefit all developers.
Okay. And can we pull up DX3818, please, for a moment? DX3818. All right. And in this document, Mr. Doran pointed you to language in the paragraph on the first page regarding competition across platforms. Do you see that?
Sorry, what sentence?
Right there, in that, anywhere in there.
Yes.
Okay, do you see that language that you were pointed to by Mr. Doran?
Yes.
Okay. And does it benefit Epic to have cross-platform competition?
Yes.
Why?
Because competition ensures that users can get the best value, and the best products and companies have an opportunity to win on their merit.
Is there right now cross-platform competition with iOS?
No, Apple locks iOS users into their platform and prevents competition in a lot of areas, including stores. In other words, I'm sorry, you can't purchase a game on the EpicGames store and then go to iOS, and if the game is also available on iOS, you don't own the game on iOS. You'd have to buy it again through Apple's store. So there's no cross-platform competition in many product categories because Apple prohibits it.
You were asking questions about Apple's AR kit. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the term API?
Yes.
Is AR kit an API?
Yes.
Is that API available for native apps?
Yes.
Are you aware one way or the other as to whether or not ARKit is available through WebKit?
Yes, Apple does not make ARKit available through WebKit.
What is the significance of that?
It means that a web app cannot compete with a native app in augmented reality, and it can't generally even exist because Apple prohibits AR from being used within a web browser to the extent of my knowledge.
Does that mean that a web app does not have access to ARKit?
Yes.
You were asked some questions about the trajectory of Fortnite usage in 2020. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you were asked questions specifically with regard to the COVID period of time in 2020 and Fortnite usage. Do you recall that?
Yes.
At the beginning of 2020, what was the trajectory of Fortnite usage?
Fortnite was going strong in early 2020, and January is my recollection.
All right. Let's pull up DX3774 if we could. Do you recall being shown this document by Mr. Doran?
Yes.
All right. And if you turn, please, to the page that is 1, 2, 3 pages in, there's a page Bates numbered at the bottom that ends at 765. Do you see that page?
Yes.
There's mobile platform fees, an existential issue as Fortnite evolves. Do you see that?
Yes.
And did you see this page at the time that this presentation was shown to the Board of Directors on or about July 27th, 2020?
Yes.
And do you agree with the statement, mobile platform fees, an existential issue as Fortnite evolves?
Yes.
What's your understanding as to why mobile platform fees are an existential issue as Fortnite evolves?
Sure, these fees are an existential issue to the development of the metaverse in general. Fortnite is increasingly a creator-driven platform. Companies and individuals besides Epic are creating content within Fortnite that they're working to distribute to users. And even though because we're early in the development of a creator-based Fortnite economy, the long-term evolution of Fortnite will be opening up Fortnite as a platform for creators to distribute their work to users. And Epic is trying to build a metaverse in which creators can make the majority of profit from their own games and other entertainment experiences within Fortnite, which means that besides Epic paying all its operating costs for Fortnite servers, the majority of the revenue from creators' experiences in Fortnite should go to the creators themselves. And with Apple taking 30% off of the top, it makes it very, very hard for Epic and creators to exist in the future world.
Okay. Let's pull up, if we could, DX4579, another document you were shown by Mr. Doran. And I'd like to turn you to the paragraph that one of the parts of the document that Mr. Doran showed you, which is in the third paragraph on this page. And there's a sentence that says, Epic has certain plans for August that will provide an extraordinary opportunity to highlight the value proposition of consoles and PCs in contrast to mobile platforms and to onboard new console users. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any expectation at the time that you sent this email, which was 5 August 2020, as to the level of onboarding of new users that might occur?
Given the data we had, my understanding is platform switching has been relatively modest, but we wanted to do everything we could to enable Fortnite players to find a new home.
Were you expecting significant or insignificant onboarding of new users?
I was expecting modest onboarding of new users.
All right. You were asked some questions about buying V-Bucks through the Epic website. Do you recall those questions?
Yes.
And in your view, is buying V-Bucks through the Epic website an attractive option for consumers?
No.
Why not?
And people want to buy V-Bucks in Fortnite is when they see a cool new item in the Fortnite outfit shop. And at that point in time, they're in Fortnite on some platform. And to set Fortnite aside and pull out some device browse to a website, log in, and then make a transaction there is extremely inconvenient versus a few taps on the screen using an app purchase. So generally, we appreciate that there's a huge amount of payment processing and customer friction associated with showing a user of an app an item outside of that app.
And have you seen any data as to the numbers of purchasers who complete transactions in-app versus outside of the app?
I don't remember. Okay.
Can you remind?
I just want to follow up on this too, Mr. Sweeney. Do you know the numbers in terms of the ages of the individuals who use Fortnite?
We don't track customer age.
So do you have an understanding generally whether a majority of the people who use your product are young people?
No, we understand the majority of Fortnite players to be generally young adults. It's a teen-rated game, 13 plus. So
there's a substantial or not a substantial number of children who are playing those games.
I don't know. We don't track user age as a matter of business practice.
Why is it so inconvenient that someone can't make what I would call, as a parent, an impulse purchase? That is, if I'm a parent and I say, here's your allowance, and they choose to put $10 or $15 in V-Bucks in their account, then they can use it when they want. Isn't that a responsible way to deal with a young client base? Why should we want them to have the ability to just, on impulse, buy something?
Well, Fortnite has, and most platforms have parental controls preventing children from making cash purchases. And so if a parent would buy a child V-Bucks, whether in Fortnite, on iOS, or on our website, then the child has permission to spend those V-Bucks, but not to use the parent's credit card.
Right, but isn't that what you seem to want here? I mean, people have the ability to have an account, right? You've got an account of V-Bucks or savings or whatever. What you're really asking for is the ability to have impulse purchases.
Yes. Yeah, customer convenience is a huge factor in this. We find people are much more likely to make a purchase if it's easy to make a purchase than if it's really hard.
All right. Mr. Sweeney, you were shown a document. Let's pull it up, 4477 by Mr. Doran, and also I talked to you about this yesterday. And you were pointed to various portions of this document. Let me ask you whether or not Epic is suing for damages in this case.
No.
And would Epic have accepted a deal from Apple prior to the launch of the hotfix that related to relief just for itself and its concerns about Apple's policies?
Yes, that's what Epic was asking for in this document. So Apple had granted us permission, and then we would have launched Fortnite direct payment with Apple's blessing.
Did Epic want a deal just for itself or for all developers?
I did not want a deal just for Epic. I expressed the hope that Apple would make these options available to all developers.
If Apple had told you that the deal would only be for you and no other developers, if Apple had told you that it would offer you a deal for you and no other developers, would you have accepted that deal?
Yes, I would have.
When did you first learn that the class action existed, if you can recall?
Referring to the consumer?
The consumer class action or the developer class action.
My recollection is a bit hazy, but I remember reading about the Supreme Court matter on Was it the developer class action in 2018, I believe?
And remind the court when you first distributed on iOS.
I believe that in March or April of 2018.
And remind the court when you first distributed any game or product on iOS.
Sorry, 2010.
And did Apple require Epic to enter into a developer agreement at that time?
Yes.
And you discussed that briefly with Mr. Doran yesterday. Do you recall that?
Yes.
All right. Did Epic have any ability to negotiate the terms with Apple prior to entering into that agreement?
No, Apple's terms were non-negotiable.
If Epic had not agreed to all of the terms in that developer agreement, would Epic have been able to distribute on iOS?
No.
You also spoke briefly with Mr. Doran about communications with Apple prior to filing the lawsuit. Let me show you, if I can, a document that is PX2374. Your Honor, may I approach? And I'll also hand one to Your Honor and the clerks.
You may.
Now, Mr. Sweeney, I don't expect that you've seen the top email, but I'm interested in the portion of this document, PX2374, that appears to have come from you.
Yes.
What is this document? The portion that comes from you.
This is an email I sent to Tim Cook at Apple suggesting that Apple make iOS an open platform in 2015.
And why did you send this email to Mr. Cook at that time?
Concerns with the Apple's business model has been building up for a period of several years. And Epic had tried to arrange conversations with Apple, I think even prior to this. I hadn't had a chance until I just sent them an email on the topic.
All right, let me show you another document which has been marked as PX. Your Honor,
any objections? 374 is admitted. I'm assuming that's what you wanted, Ms. Ford?
It is, Your Honor. Thank you. I'd also like to show the witness what's been marked for identification as PX2421. Mr. Sweeney, if you could let me know when you've had an opportunity to review this document.
Yes, I've seen it.
Okay, and there's a portion of the document. Well, why don't you describe what the document is to the court, please?
This is an email discussion between myself and Epic Vice President Mark Rain, where we were attempting to set up a meeting with Apple to discuss our concerns with iOS, in particular in this case with Mr. Jazwiak. Is that Jazwiak at Apple?
And why were you making that suggestion?
Our concerns, we're continuing to grow with Apple's business model. We were, at this point, preparing to launch Fortnite on iOS. I wanted to have an executive level discussion with Apple about the topic.
All right. Your Honor, I'd like to move PX2421 into evidence.
Any objection? Submitted.
Mr. Sweeney, lastly, you were asked some questions yesterday about, or this morning, about the Epic's June 2020 renewal of its agreement with Apple. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Was Epic able to negotiate the terms of that agreement with Apple?
No.
If Epic had not agreed to the renewal agreement, what would have occurred?
I believe our membership in Apple's developer program would have expired, and Epic would be able to own it to develop software for at least iOS devices.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions at this time.
Recross limited to the scope of redirect.
Mr. Sweeney, regarding Metal, you're aware that an updated version of Metal was issued by Apple in 2017, correct?
I don't remember it specifically.
Okay, but you know that that API has continued to evolve and improve since it was first released in 2014, correct?
Yes.
Secondly, if you could please look at Exhibit 2374, which you were just shown. Do you have that?
Yes.
This is your email to Mr. Cook. Do you have that?
Yes.
And in the first paragraph, you state in the second sentence that the App Store has done much good for the industry. And did you mean that when you made that statement in June 2015?
Yes.
And looking at the last paragraph, you state that it would be extremely positive for Apple to take this approach. Well, let's back up and just read the paragraph. The paragraph starts, compliance review would keep iOS free of malware, while open distribution would combine the best aspects of the App Store with the best aspects of open platforms. It would be extremely positive for Apple to take this approach proactively before this topic is overly complicated by opposing political, regulatory, moral, and competitive forces. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
And so you understood that the way that the App Store was structured was in part impacted by competitive forces, correct?
My concern at this point in time was that it was not impacted by competitive forces.
So even though you stated that the topic may become overly complicated by opposing competitive forces, you did not, in fact, believe that the App Store was impacted by competitive forces by June 2015. Is that your testimony?
My concern at this point was that the iOS app distribution model was not subject to any competition whatsoever. That was my concern.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to focus on my question, please. You stated in your email to Mr. Cook that it would be extremely positive for Apple to take this approach before the topic is overly complicated by opposing competitive forces. And you're telling us that despite having made that statement in June 2015, your view was that there were no competitive forces impacting the App Store. That's your testimony here today.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mr. Sweeney, for Fortnite, iOS is accounted for about 5.5% of total Fortnite revenue through 2020, correct? Since launch.
I'm not certain.
You know it's well below 10%, though, aren't you?
Yes.
Your Honor, I failed to move Exhibit 4036 into evidence previously, I believe, and I would like to do that now.
I had it as admitted. If not, then it will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And then, secondarily, I have the...
Before we move on for 4036, I don't think it had been formally offered, Your Honor. The only thing that I had on that one was an objection to the top portion of the email as hearsay. If it was being offered for a non-hearsay use, then we had no objection. The top portion is from an outside third party, Your Honor, Mr. Phil Spencer.
Again, Your Honor, it's just a statement of Mr. Spencer's position in this document. Whether he's telling the truth or not, I will not guess. But this is a position he took with Mr. Sweeney.
admit it. If I haven't before, I'll admit it again, and obviously follow the rules of evidence with respect to its proper evidentiary value.
Thank you, Your Honor. And then lastly, Your Honor, I want to hand up the thumb drive that has the video clip on it.
Okay, you can give that to Ms. Stone.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Redirect limited to the scope of recross.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, I have a few. Do you have any understanding of the economics of developers who engage in apps that relate to food?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have any understanding of the economics with respect to developers who have apps related to maps or GPS or traffic?
I do not.
Same question with respect to coupons or incentives.
No, Your Honor.
Same question with respect to weather.
No, Your Honor.
Same question with respect to dating.
No, Your Honor.
And the same question with respect to instant messengers.
No, Your Honor.
So you don't have any idea how what you're asking for would impact any of the developers who engage in all of those other categories of apps. Is that right?
I prefer not.
Okay. Just a few minutes ago, Ms. Forrest asked you a question about your perspectives in 2012 when you gave that speech at DICE versus now. And you talked about the growth in the entire industry, and in particular the mobile game, the developments in the mobile game industry. You gave some numbers. Apple also participates in that industry, right? That is, they have their own gaming store too, don't they?
You are referring to the iOS App Store now?
I'm talking about games in particular.
Okay, Apple hosts the App Store on iOS and Mac, which sells all kinds of apps, including games.
I don't have anything else. Any follow-up on my questions, Ms. Forrest?
Yeah, could I correct something I said to you earlier? You asked about age knowledge. Epic, for the players, we ask for the player's age, and if the player is under 13, then we implement child safety practices required by law, but we do not retain player age information outside of that process.
Okay.
Apologize.
No, that's all right. Thank you for the clarification. Ms. Forrest, any?
No follow-up, Your Honor.
Mr. Dorn? All right, sir, you may step down.
Thank you.
Next witness. Wait, I do have another question. Mr. Sweeney. You're asking the court for equitable relief. So part of the equitable relief that I've already provided was to require that Apple keep the Unreal Engine open. What is your backup plan if I don't? What's your backup plan?
If Apple's actions are lawful, then I acknowledge Apple would have the right to remove Epic from the developer program for any reason or no reason, and then it would be up to Apple to decide. If Apple cut us off, then we would have to live without supporting the iOS platform.
Okay, thank you. All right, now next witness.
Good morning, Your Honor. Wes Earnhardt for EpicGames. We called Benjamin Simon.
Okay, and it's Mr. Hart, sorry?
Earnhardt.
While they're getting the witness, Your Honor, I'll just remove the equipment from over by the stands and nobody trips on it.
We'll take care of that, or your folks can get it over next to Francis. You can take it, Sam.
I do.
All right, thank you. And pull that mic to you, and then please state your full name, spell your last name.
My name is Benjamin Simon. My last name is spelled S-I-M-O-N.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You may proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Simon. Where are you employed?
Yoga Booty Co.
Does Yoga Booty Co. go by another name?
Yes, we usually use the name Down Dog publicly. We usually use the name Down Dog publicly. Yes.
What kind of company is Down Dog?
We're a small software company.
What does it develop?
We develop consumer applications for wellness practices, primarily our yoga app.
Down Dog is an unusual name. Where does it come from?
Down Dog is a yoga pose. We also wanted to make my dog the icon for the app, so to help make that make sense.
What is your title at Down Dog?
I'm the president and CEO.
What year did you also found Down Dog?
Yes.
What year?
We founded the company in 2015.
And what did you do before you founded Down Dog?
I was a software engineer at Google for 3 years. I worked on a small team that built what's now the current version of Google Sheets for 2 years, and then I worked on Google Maps for mobile.
How many employees does Down Dog have?
Currently, we have 5 full-time employees, including myself.
And what are your responsibilities as CEO?
I oversee most of the operations of Down Dog, particularly anything involving the code and software distribution side. My co-founder handles some of the more purely business admin kinds of things.
Are you involved in overseeing the distribution of your applications?
Yes.
Are you involved in overseeing customer support?
Yes.
Are you in charge of setting Down Dog's pricing?
That's usually a conversation with me and my co-founder.
Does Down Dog have a data analytics team?
No, we do not.
Are you in charge of reviewing Down Dog's data analytics?
Yes.
Do you do that in the ordinary course of your business?
Yes.
What are Down Dog's products?
Currently, we have 5 applications. Our yoga app, we have a prenatal yoga app, a bar app, which is sort of ballet-inspired fitness, HIIT, which is high-intensity interval training, and then most recently our meditation app.
And can you just explain
My court reporter is shaking her head because you're speaking too fast.
Sorry.
We'll try to go slowly.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you just explain generally what those apps allow users to do?
Yes. When a user comes to the app, they can choose from a variety of customizations. So, for example, in the yoga app, they can choose the length of the practice they want to do down to the minute. the pace, the level. They can choose among different voices. They can choose to boost a certain part of the practice to focus on a certain body area. And then what DownDog does is create the custom workout for that user on demand and stitches together a single video that appears to be basically a continuous fitness class and serves that to the user as instructional content that they can do yoga or meditate or work out along with.
Okay. Roughly, how many users take classes on DownDog's apps on a given day?
We have about 150,000 practices completed across our apps on any given day.
Okay. And where do your customers access those DownDog classes?
We have a native iOS app as well as, or I guess for each of our 5 products, we have a native iOS app, a native Android app, and then we also have a full featured web application.
For your native iOS app, where can your customers go to download it?
Only through the iOS App Store.
How does DownDog make money?
We are a subscription-based service, so we offer a free trial that users just need to create an account to access, and then after 2 to 3 weeks, when the trial is done, they have to subscribe in order to continue practicing in any of the apps.
And just in general, how does the subscription work once a user has one?
Any subscription gives them access to all of the apps on all of our platforms. It's a monthly or yearly subscription.
And once a user agrees to a subscription, does it auto-renew at the end of the period, or does the user have to resubscribe?
For a subscription, it typically auto-renews, although they can turn that off at any point. For the trial, there's no billing information taken ahead, so there's no auto-renew or no auto-billing of the first charge.
Okay. Where can a user purchase a subscription to DownDog?
Via in-app purchase on the iOS native app or in-app purchases on the Android native app. And then we also offer subscriptions via our website where users can either use a credit card, which we process through Stripe, or they can also pay via PayPal on our website.
So for subscriptions purchased in the iOS app, what payment processor do you use?
Within the iOS app, we're only allowed to use Apple's in-app purchases. So.
Did DownDog have to take any steps to become eligible to distribute its apps on the App Store in iOS?
Sign up as a developer, pay the $99 developer fee, and sign various agreements.
Okay. And did you in fact sign the developer program license agreement?
I believe yes.
Were you able to negotiate the terms of that agreement?
No.
Were you able to ask any questions about the agreement before you signed it?
Not that I recall, no.
Were you able to seek any exceptions to any of the terms within the agreement before you signed it?
Not that I recall.
How did it work functionally?
I believe it was all self-service through Apple's website, where we basically just clicked through and signed up.
Okay. Since launching DownDog, have you had direct experiences with Apple's App Store policies and practices?
Yes.
At a high level, without getting into details now, what impact have Apple's App Store's policies and practices had on the price you charge your customers?
At a high level, we've always discounted the website subscription by at least the 30% that Apple takes, passing on those savings to our consumers. So at a very high level, not being able to publicize that offer raises prices for our consumers, and along with that, we end up with fewer people subscribing.
You answered my next question, but at a high level, what impact have Apple's policies had on your ability to attract and maintain users?
Yeah, so generally when we've done pricing experiments, we've found that around our current pricing, if we increase the price by X%, we get roughly an X% decrease in the number of subscribers. And inversely, if we lower the price, that obviously changes at the extremes. So at a high level, we're losing, the percentage of users equivalent to the increased subscription price.
Okay. And what impact have Apple's App Store policies and practices had on your ability, to provide customer service to your users?
There are a couple issues. One is simply the app review process, which slows down our ability to release bug fixes and other improvements to our users, which creates customer service issues. Additionally, a substantial customer service issue for us is that we can't issue refunds or even cancel the subscriptions of users who subscribe via in-app purchases. So those customer support complaints are ones that we can't remedy.
So let's start by talking about pricing. You testified that you sell subscriptions, excuse me, both on the web and in your iOS app, correct?
Correct.
How does your standard pricing compare between subscriptions purchased on the web versus subscriptions bought through the iOS app?
For the past year, the standard in-app price has been $59.99, as in $60 per year, or $9.99 per month. And then on the website, it's been $39.99 per year or $7.99 per month, which we generally advertise as a 33% discount for the yearly one at least.
So just to make sure I have that right, the iOS prices are 33% higher than the web prices?
The iOS prices are actually 50% higher because of the way that math works out. The web prices are 33% lower than the iOS prices. Sorry. The iOS prices are 50% higher than the web prices, which is the same as saying the web prices are 33% lower than the iOS prices.
Okay. And why is it that you charge more for subscriptions purchased in-app on iOS than on the web?
Primarily, it's because of the 30% commission that Apple takes. We see no reason why we should make more money on users who subscribe via our website. Additionally, we find there are other reasons that we think it's better for us and our customers to subscribe via our website. The lack of the ability to issue refunds and otherwise manage their memberships being the primary one, which is why we're okay actually even making a little less on the website purchases.
So who ultimately bears the cost of Apple's 30% commission on iOS from your subscription payments?
I would say that our customers do.
Okay. Could Downdog offer subscriptions only on the web and still offer an iOS app?
I'm not entirely sure. I believe it would at least be difficult in that we wouldn't be able to tell users how they can subscribe within the app. So if there was no subscription option in the app, that would be a rather confusing experience for users.
Could Downdog offer an iOS subscription in the app without using Apple's in-app payment processor to avoid the 30% fee?
No, that is explicitly forbidden.
Forbidden by what?
The App Store review guidelines.
Okay. Do you like that policy?
No, we do not.
Why did you agree to it?
We have no ability to negotiate those terms, and we feel we can't grow our business without having an iOS native app.
Does Downdog ever run discounted pricing promotions?
We do, typically 4 times a year. It's typically Memorial Day, Labor Day, Cyber Monday, and New Year's.
Do you have a typical amount by which you discount the prices?
That has varied. It's typically between $15 a year and $24 a year. Most recently, we did a promotion for New Year's in January where we offered the subscription at $14.99 per year.
And why is it that Downdog runs these pricing promotions?
Generally, we consider it part of our mission to provide specifically affordable wellness practices to the world. We found that doing promotions have been an effective way to offer our product at a cheaper price to those who can't afford it.
And does Downdog make those promotional offers available for purchase on iOS?
Typically, we do not.
And why not?
There's 2 reasons. One is that at the time of a promotion, it's very confusing to be talking about 2 different prices. And when we discount the app that much, we really can't afford to give 30% to Apple. I believe that the $14.99 per year price If a user practices every day, we actually lose money just on music licensing fees that we have to pay. So we really can't afford to give 30%. Additionally, Apple's in that payment system makes it somewhat difficult to change our prices. A change in price requires a new product, which requires a review by Apple, which requires an update. And so in particular, if we want to do an experiment of prices or if we don't plan far enough ahead, it's very hard to do a sale on iOS.
Okay. Would Downdog charge its customers less for in-app subscriptions on iOS than Apple's policy?
Yes, I think so.
Both when running a promotion and normally?
I'm not sure if we would run the promotions on iOS because of the other issues I just explained, but yes.
Just want to make sure I understand the economics. Is there any change in content based on whether a user subscribes in iOS versus on the web?
No, there is not.
And if the user subscribes in iOS and on the web, which platforms on what can the user access the app?
This is where they subscribe. They can access the app on Android, iOS, or the web.
And for the user, which subscriptions are cheaper?